Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel where I talk about movies. And today I'm going to finish up a 3-film miniseries of movies directed by William Wyler. So I started off with The Heiress from 1949, starring Olivia de Havilland in her Academy Award-winning role. And then from 1951, Detective Story. Kirk Douglas didn't win an Academy Award for this, but boy, this is a performance you don't want to miss. Today I'm going to finish this miniseries with The Desperate Hours from 1955. And after I talk about it for a little while, I'll give, for anybody who's interested, I'll give you a little preview of what I'm going to be talking about in the next few weeks. So, and first let's take a little look at this fantastic poster art. This is a recent Arrow video release. And it does have reversible cover art, and the cover art is the reversible cover art, and I guess that's the original poster. And you'll see down in the corner here, VistaVision. And let me tell you something, VistaVision is probably my favorite format. This was the first film, the first black and white film in VistaVision. VistaVision was the studio's response to CinemaScope. CinemaScope had certain, especially early CinemaScope, had optical problems, but not so VistaVision. I mean, I've seen VistaVision films in the movie theater, and The Desperate Hours looks absolutely sensational in this. And when I rewatched it whilst listening to the commentary, I was just stunned by the clarity, and the VistaVision was known for that, and it's the fine grain. It's just a beautiful, beautiful presentation here by Arrow. And I'll talk a little bit about the supplements after I talk about the film, which is a film about a home invasion. For my money, this might be the best home invasion film ever made. It stars Humphrey Bogart as the leader of a trio of criminals who have recently escaped from prison, who randomly select a house in the suburbs of Indianapolis, and they invade the house because they have to hide out. They need money. Bogart tells the family that as soon as we get our money from a girlfriend who lives out in Pittsburgh, as soon as she's able to get us this money, we'll be on our way. So Frederick March playing the father of this family. There's a little boy, a sort of grown-up woman, maybe a daughter, maybe around 20 years old. So this is really, I think, every father's nightmare. How do I protect my children? There's evil people out there. What if they just invade our house? What do we do? And this is probably every father's nightmare. Gun held to the head of the little of his small son, and can he protect his family? In the opening scenes, we see an idyllic version of the 1950s white middle class house. It's a beautiful house. We were reminded of Leave It to Beaver. This is a Leave It to Beaver type family. Father with a good job at a bank. The older daughter goes off to work. She's being wooed by a lawyer. That the father has anxiety over it. There is anxiety in this film even before the invasion. And stay-at-home mom, she's there if you come home from school. She's there to make you a snack. She has her own car to engage in her social activities. On the surface, at least, it looks good. And Leave It to Beaver, well, this Leave It to Beaver world, you're reminded of it because the exterior of the house is the same house. This is on, I think, Universal backlot, is the same house in the opening, in the first few years of the TV show Leave It to Beaver. And of course, we baby boomers have nostalgia. We think that's what our family life was like. Mine, I did not live that kind of idyllic life, and I suspect most baby boomers did not. But it's now invaded randomly. Not so randomly, because Glenn Griffin, the gangster, the leader of this trio of escapees, spots a bicycle on the front yard. And this bicycle plays a big role because as the little boy goes off to school, About an hour before, his mother tells him, put your bike away before you go to school. And he says, I'm late, and he runs off. Well, Glenn Griffin's psychological strategy is he wants to invade a house with kids. So when he sees the bike on the front yard, he says, yes, they have kids here because they're not going to take any chances. They want to protect their children from harm. So then when the father comes home, the movie becomes this kind of battle of wits between Griffin and Mr. Hilliard, who is played by Frederick March. And the anxiety, the dilemmas, the tension, that this is a movie, this is an experiment in tension where the tension ratchets up as we go along in this struggle of wits. And Griffin knows, Bogart knows that March is thinking. He's always thinking, how do I get my family out of this? So the one element here that audiences didn't seem to like, certainly some of the critics, Bosley Crowther included, didn't like the aspect that Griffin allows the father and the daughter to go off to work the next morning. Now, he figures that I've got the mother and the son at home. If anything happens, if the police come, the father's going to think that they'll be killed. And the father is thinking, well, if I go to the police, are they going to be gung-ho? Are they going to want to get the criminals and whatever else is who are basically terrorists, and everything else is collateral damage? Well, in today's world, definitely with the more sophisticated police techniques and hostage situations in the last 70 years, the gangsters wouldn't allow anybody to leave, and the people would probably, the father or the daughter would have gone to the police. But what it does, it creates this dilemma in the minds of the father. Am I doing the right thing? Am I not? And the audience gets to participate in that. Would I go to the police, or would I be fearful of what the police might do? And there's actually, and when the police are involved, Arthur Kennedy, who's in charge of the case, but here's the local sheriff, and he just wants to get these. He doesn't care anything about the possible victims. He just wants to capture these dangerous criminals, whereas Arthur Kennedy, who Griffin has a grudge against, he allows some some space here, so he is sympathetic to the victims. Police, the people in the 1950s might not have had the same view of the police, at least in this particular type of situation. But it was the main focus of the criticism of the movie. Now all this is played out with a kind of deep. Wyler's trademark deep focus photography here again with Lee Garms, who also photographed Detective Story and very famous Hollywood cinematographer. He photographed all of the von Sternberg Dietrich movies back in the 1930s, and it creates certain tableau. There's one spectacular tableau that is very that is so striking. It's visually exciting, and this is only part of it. The house as an interior is and Wyler was great at interiors, and this house set is just fantastic. And this is just part of a much larger tableau where the characters, we see the upstairs, downstairs. We don't get the stairway in this particular shot, but it's in the big tableau shot. And different characters are presented on the stairway. We see Bogey in the foreground and Mary Murphy playing the daughter. And then on the stairway, and then we see the mother in the upstairs corner. And then this is Dewey Martin playing Bogart's younger brother. This presents a claustrophobic The house itself, just as in The Heiress, the house itself becomes a kind of character, and so the terror becomes even more intense. Here's Bogey with Martha Scott playing the mother in this initial segment of the invasion, so we in the audience get to feel the tension ourselves as if we're in the room with them. Andre Bazin, a great French film critic, the father of the new French New Wave, who loved Wyler's films up to Ben-Hur, and he describes Wyler's use of space as a dramatic checkerboard. And you see that, and especially when I watched the film a second time listening to Daniel Kremer's commentary, it's just stunning. Visually, this is a stunning movie. So the anxiety builds, the tension builds. I found this movie, as I did the other two films in this miniseries, to be an emotionally wrenching film. I mean, by the end of the film, you've been through the ringer, and you've seen a great performance, a great late performance by Humphrey Bogart, and Frederick March is very good as he matches wits with Bogart. You get a sort of meditation on violence and the violence that was within us. This is Mary Murphy playing the daughter, Martha Scott playing the mother. And the home invasion theme, there was one of the reasons that the film supposedly didn't do well was that there were so many home invasion themed movies that the audiences were tired of them. But even in The Heiress, you see you see in Home Invasion there a claustrophobic house where a fortune hunter is invading the life of a family. But I was also reminded of Shadow of Doubt, which I did a video on a couple of weeks ago, Hitchcock film, where you have a middle class house in the suburbs, white middle class house, and that looks idyllic. A lot more anxiety in that household, but still, there is an invasion. Joseph Cotton, our Uncle Charlie, invades, but he is actually part of the family. This anxiety, or this invasion of the home in Desperate Hours, really reflects the anxiety that people felt during the Cold War. So, again, absorbing, exciting movie. I loved it from beginning to end. I loved this movie when I was a kid. And it was based on a best-selling novel by Joseph Hayes, a big, wildly successful. Now, there's an odd story here because Joseph Hayes wrote a play based on his novel. He also wrote the screenplay for this film. But the play didn't open until the film finished filming, and then the play opened. The play was a big success. Paul Newman, much younger and not yet a film star, played the Bogart part, and Carl Malden played the Frederick March part. And but then the film wasn't going to be released until after the play closed. But it closed early because Carl Malden was leaving. The attendance was down because of an incredibly hot summer. So the studio upped the premiere time, and by this time it seemed to have ran the subject of the movie seemed to have run out of steam. The property itself, the story itself, had run out of steam. So it didn't do it. It wasn't a flop. I mean, it did, according to sources, it did make its money back. But Wyler was disappointed with the film. He thought he didn't add enough violence. By the mid-50s, people wanted violence, and he made it more intellectual, a battle of wits, which I think is fantastic in this movie. Bogart and Frederick March together, scenes are really fantastic, and knowing that Bogart was at the end of his career also adds a great deal of poignancy, interest in seeing, you know, one of Hollywood's greatest and most enduring stars. So we get in the supplements, we get a Daniel Kramer commentary. He's solo here, and he has a lot of info to impart, but as usual, he goes far afield, you know, displaying his great knowledge of other movies, and he sort of gets away from the movie itself, and I don't even think he even mentions the underlying tension in the father not going to the police, which is really the crux of the matter, of the dilemma, the incredible dilemma this father faces. We get a video essay that's pretty good, but pretty much the same info as you get in Kramer's commentary. We get a really good piece on Humphrey Bogart, placing his career arc in the 1950s, and especially because this was a film that Bogart's own production company bid on. He lost out to the Paramount. I'm pretty sure this was Paramount. And he was very disappointed. He thought that the studio didn't promote this film well because he was very proud of his performance, and rightfully so. And, you know, he got along. Wyler had, 30 or 50 takes he did of the opening shot. 50 takes of the first day of shooting. He did. I think they did a day and a half of Frederick March coming out of his house. So Wyler's perfectionism, which he couldn't do on Detective Story because there was no money, but this was thought to be, this is going to be a big hit. So he, and a lot of actors, as I said in other videos, didn't like this, but they were willing to sacrifice, because when they saw themselves on the screen, the performances were incredible, and not just the main leads, but everybody in the film, every little vignette. We get to see Beverly Garland. I mean, I'm sure most people don't remember Beverly Garland. I thought in a brief scene, and I thought, geez, who is this? I didn't recognize her. I had to rely on Daniel Kramer, but I did recognize Joe Flynn, who has a really memorable little 2 minutes of screen time. Joe Flynn in a lot of Disney movies. I remember as Lieutenant Binghamton from the television show McHale's Navy. But every little piece, even the friends of the little boys, they all get very vivid little moments, which is what you can expect in a William Wyler film. And Wyler goes on now to direct Friendly Persuasion the following year. He wins the Best Director at the Cannes Film Festival. He gets a huge hit with Ben-Hur, another one later on with Funny Girl. So his career still, it chugged on until 1970 with The Liberation of L.B. Jones, and that's a movie I want to revisit, because I'm going to do more on William Wyler. This is a rediscovery for me of Wyler, because I haven't seen most of his movies in many, many years. So here's just a brief. I'm going on too long here today, but brief preview of what's coming up. I seem to be going in threes instead of 2x2. I'm doing 3x3. So I got 3 new releases that aren't related to each other. This is Visible Secret by Anne Hu. I guess it's a horror film for the spooky season. I've got the 4K UHD of Barbra Streisand and Robert Redford in The Way We Were. And I've also got Michael Powell's The Edge of the World. This came out through Kino from, Milestone Pictures. So Michael Powell's, it's not his debut film, but I think it is a film that really brought him the first real recognition in his career. I've got Ernest Hemingway's The Killers, both the 46 and the 64 version. Robert Siodmak and Don Siegel directed. I've got 3 silent films from Joseph von Sternberg. I'm going to do a Nicole Kidman. The Others has already been released on by Criterion. I'm waiting for the Barnes & Noble sale to pick that up to save a few bucks. I'm going to do a 3 film miniseries with Dead Calm and The Portrait of a Lady and the others. I'm thinking also of doing a 3 film miniseries in Isabelle Huppert when La Cérémonie comes out later in November. I believe I'm hoping it's going to be part of the Criterion Barnes & Noble sale. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Take care.